Hello chess family, it's me National Master Jesse James, and today we're looking at a very fun game I got to play from the white perspective against the Caro. That's right, we're going to be attacking the Caro today. And well, in this line we're actually be going over a fun line I've actually developed, a Gambit line that you could play against it. So, without further ado, let's get to it. In this game, I'm playing against a very strong player, 2700 player, so not a weak player by any means. I went ahead and started off with e4. My opponent chose the Caro with pawn to c6, pawn to d4, pawn to d5. Here I like to play what's called the fantasy variation, so you play pawn to f3. And here my opponent did not play the best move and chose to play pawn to e6. Now this is still a book move. I wouldn't say it's the best way to apply here. Typically it's going to be the main line, which is pawn takes, and then you play pawn to e5. And the theory just starts there. It goes on for quite a bit longer. With that being said, my opponent chose to play pawn to e6, and here I go ahead and play it, pawn to c4. As this is my Gambit line that I've developed, and as you can probably guess, the computer does not like Gambits just in general. But you know who does? Me. And I love to attack, so well, it's up to my opponent to see if they can figure out what the best moves to play against it are. Here, my opponent definitely didn't even try. They went ahead and played knight to f6. And I mean, this is very typical because it will transpose into French lines, so I don't know why it's saying it's a bad move, but it's very typical that black plays this. And here I went ahead and played knight c3 to defend my pawn here on e4. Bishop b7, black gets ready to castle. And here we go, pawn to e5. I love to make a very strong pawn formation. Knight goes to d7. Here we go, pawn to f4. This is something, if you've seen my games, you know I love to do. I love this attacking pawn structure. It controls their side of the board, and sometimes we're able to open up the f-file for my rook. Here they went ahead and played d takes on c4. Bishop takes on c4. Thank you very much. Knight b6 attacking the bishop. And here the bishop retreats back to b3. Now I would like to play it to d3, but you have to be careful here, as this would just drop the pawn here on d4. So simple chess, bishop goes back to b3. My opponent played pawn c5, another very strong move from them. At this point, c5 is a good move because, well, you definitely don't want to take right away. Taking would be a disastrous move, as it allows black to trade queens here, and also, well, it ruins my beautiful center. So, of course, we're not going to do this. Instead, well, let's just keep developing our pieces and defend on d4. Simple chess, I went ahead and played knight to f3. And I stick to the rule, develop knights before bishops. Here they took on d4. Knight takes on d4, knight to c6. And here, you can definitely take on c6 here and give them the isolated pawn. But again, I don't like this as much, as this can allow black to trade queens. Queen takes d1 check, and king takes bishop checks. It doesn't really matter. Again, I just don't want to get into these lines just yet. So simple chess. After this, let's just keep developing and defending. Bishop e3 gets played. I'm already happy. I've got all my minor pieces developed, and I'm ready to castle. Black went ahead and took. Bishop takes back on d4. And here, bishop to d7. A very nice move for the bishop. Here you're going to see it jump onto the long diagonal here and put pressure on g2. All right, what do we do next? Well, before you start attacking, you must make sure your king is safe. So let's go ahead and castle. Bishop c6 got played first. They probably just like here for black to castle right away. I think this move is definitely okay. And here I typically like to go ahead and use my maneuver of bringing my queen over to the king side, either with queen f3, g3, or maybe even queen to g4. But unfortunately I had a problem here. My bishop is unprotected, just like the d4 pawn. So, simple chess, I'm going to go ahead and bring my rook into the game right behind this bishop. I started off with queen to d2. Black went ahead and castled. Rook over to d1. Now my queen is free. Knight got played to d5. It's an interesting move. You can make some trades here and, well, try to go for a good endgame, but that does not sound like me. Here I have my pieces very well placed. Both bishops are looking toward the king over here. My knight's ready to jump into the game. My queen's ready to jump in. My rooks are good. I'm going to go for the attack. So here I start my maneuver, knight to e4. I love this move as the knight is getting ready to jump over to g5, maybe even knight f6 checks in the future. This has a lot of good attacking possibilities. Black played bishop b4 here. Definitely not the best move. This is one of those moves that I love to see because, well, how did you know I wanted to move my queen? So here I sidestep. Queen over to f2. Again, g3 idea. I'm going to look at this checkmating square over here on g7. Black played a5. The idea here is to try to push down and kick this bishop away. That's okay. Pawn to a3. bishop back to e7, and now queen to g3. Now I have got my queen where I want her to be. And here, black, seeing the idea of already some tries of like knight f6 check, makes a wise decision and plays king to h8. Now here, I mean, this is again one of those positions I love. I've got plenty of kingside space. My pieces are looking great. Here, I tried to find an idea about where the attack will come from since my knight f6 check idea is gone. And here, after looking at it for a little while, I realized h7 is going to be the new weakness. Here, I'm going to use my queen and my bishop to try and attack on h7. So I started off with queen to h3. My opponent played a4, and again, it's one of those moves. How did you know that I wanted to move my bishop? My bishop went to c2, and now I have really good threats about my knight moving for discovery to attack on h7. Here, my opponent got a little freaked out and made a blunderous move of king to g8. It is now white to move, and to get that double exclam and win a piece and get to a great position, what do you play here? Alright, if you haven't already, go and give us a like and subscribe. Remember, liking this video is going to share this with other chess players. Alright, were you able to find it? Here we get a brilliant move. We go ahead and play knight to f6 check, of course. This is a clearance sacrifice. We move the knight out the way, and it's a check, so it's a forced move, so that we can put pressure and try to checkmate on h7. Of course, my opponent's not going to fall for the simple stuff. He went ahead and played knight takes on f6. And here, simple chess, just pawn takes, winning the knight. And here, I win the knight, but I'm also attacking the bishop here too. And here, because queen h7 checkmate's being threatened, well, they have to make a choice. Do you want to get checkmated, or do you want to stop the checkmate and lose a piece? No really good decisions here. Here, he went ahead and played g6. And here, I'm very happy. Pawn takes on e7, queen takes on e7, and now, I mean, the dark squares are very weak here. I'm going to continue this attack as soon as possible. Here I slid my queen up with queen h6, attacking on g7 for checkmate. They went ahead and played pawn to f6, making sense. But now you can see, because they pushed the pawn up, I already have ideas about sacrificing the bishop on g6. e6 pawn has become weak. It has become what's called a backwards pawn. So let's go ahead and target it. Rook over to e1. Now, I did this move not only to put pressure on the e6 pawn, but I also am thinking about ideas about rook lifts like rook e3, h3, or g3, as we will see very soon. Black played bishop d5 to overprotect over here on e6. And here, whenever you're attacking, it's important, create open files and diagonals, meaning look for pawn trades. These guys, the bishops and rooks, particularly need pawn trades, as it's going to open up the diagonals and it's going to open up the files. So here, do you see it? Pawn to f5. We're trying to get this attack going. Here, my opponent went ahead and took, and we have bishop takes on f5 here. Of course, black will not fall for the simple move of pawn takes, as this would just win the queen. So the queen jumped out the way. Queen over to f7. And here, I went ahead and went for the attack with rook to e3, saying, would you like to take the bishop? Here, my opponent said, no, thank you, and sidestep with king h8 yet again. I will say, if they do take the bishop over here, there's plenty of attacking chances, or maybe even good ways to go into endgame. After pawn takes, it still gives me a +4 position, meaning I'm up extra 4 pawns. I was probably going to continue with either bishop c3 or rook to g3 check, which I like quite a bit. And this king is just too vulnerable, so I'm going to get to a very good game either way. But as I said, they believed me. They didn't want to stop this idea, so they went ahead and just played king h8. But now I did see a very nice idea here, and so I went for the attack. Well, I will tell you, it is forced checkmate in 5. Can you see it? Now, I won't give you the moves here. I did not play the forced checkmate in 5. I played a very fun other line, which will lead to a fast win, but I did not play the forced checkmate in 5. So if you can, go ahead and go into the comments and go ahead and put the forced checkmate in 5 here. All right, for the second best move of the position, I went ahead and played bishop takes on h7. And it's giving that because, well, I missed the forced mate, but that's okay. Bishop takes h7 looks just as fun to me. I mean, at this point, black really doesn't have any other good options. They went ahead and played queen takes. And now I have a forced win of the queen. What do you play here? If it ain't check, it ain't right. So bishop takes on f6 check. Rook takes. This is pretty much forced. If the king goes to g8, we simply go rook g3 check. And black must sacrifice the queen or get checkmated very fast. So rook takes over here on f6. Queen takes on f6 check. And the queen goes to block. At this point, it looks like a decent move, like it's going to force the queen trade, because now they're threatening checkmate on g2, and also, well, getting out of the check. Fortunately for me, I know my rules. If it ain't check, it ain't right. Rook h3 check, king to g8, and this is what I had envisioned. Rook to g3, and at this point, I'm just winning the queen. There's no better move here. Queen takes on g3, pawn takes, and now we finish with a very nice little checkmate. Here, black played rook f8, queen g6 check, king over to h8, and now we finish up with what's called the ladder mate. Rook over to h4, and there's no good move to stop checkmate, at least without sacrificing in the future for rook to h4 for checkmate. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this. This was my fun idea to attack against the Caro. Whenever you play the fantasy variation, they play pawn to e6. Here you can play pawn to c4, and you should get very good attacking chances. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you in the next video.